All right, everybody, welcome and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Patched Up Providers. Today, we're going to take a shot at something new. I am going to be doing a podcast all on my own, and we are going to be talking about the cost of 24/7 ALS coverage in a rural township. I love my township. This is a disclaimer. I would not change where I live. Um, I think my township is great. I think it is ran great. We are facing an issue where a lot of townships across the United States are facing, which is struggling EMS services. And we have to start thinking outside the box on how we are going to ensure that our township is covered by emergency services. And when you call 911 for that medical emergency or that traumatic injury, that an ambulance shows up, but also shows up quickly and cares for you and your loved ones. So, with that being said, we're just going to talk about numbers. We're going to be utilizing AI in this podcast. So, if you are not a fan of that, you should probably leave now, and we'll get right into it. All right. So, we're going to be talking a lot about how much does it cost to run your own ambulance service, like what goes into it. And there's a lot that goes into it. You have to get your ambulance licensed, you have to have certified paramedics and EMTs, and you have to have a license to run, a medical director, all them things. But today we're going to be focusing on what is the cost for your township to staff an ambulance 24/7, 365. On Christmas Eve, you need somebody that they show up. So for our staffing model, we're going to talk about staffing first. For our staffing model, we went with 3 full-time paramedics and 3 full-time EMTs. We're going to run a paramedic and EMT truck to make up our ALS unit, and they are going to be working 2 24-hour shifts a week. We went with the average rate for paramedics and EMTs in the Lehigh Valley, where I am from. And we went with $32 an hour for paramedics, and we went with $22 an hour for EMTs. But those paramedic and those EMTs, they don't want to work for your agency or your township unless they're getting health benefits and a retirement plan. So that is important these days. So we're factoring in about $8 an hour for those health benefits per provider, and we're going to add $1.50 for a retirement plan for each provider as well. So with using those numbers for health benefits and retirement plan and that hourly wage, we're at $41.50 for a paramedic, and we are at $31.50 an hour for EMTs. So, 2 24-hour shifts. A lot of providers these days are moving towards wanting to work longer hours, less days. Okay. So, the bad thing about 24-hour shifts or 2 24-hour shifts in a 7-day period is the 8 hours of built in overtime per week. So, 24 plus 24 is 48, 40-hour work week, 8 hours of overtime each week. So, if you do a 2-week pay period, that's 16 hours of overtime, built-in overtime per paycheck. So if you break the paramedic wages down at $41.50 an hour, weekly base rate is $1,660. You add in that overtime, that adds another $500. It's actually $498. So your weekly rate for a paramedic is $2,158, and that comes out to about $112,216 per year. And remember, we need 3 of them at least. So 3 full-time paramedics comes out to $336,648 per year for our paramedics. Full-time EMTs at $31.50 an hour. 40 hours of regular per week is $1,260 per week. Add in that 8 hours of built-in overtime, we are at $378 added on. So our weekly rate for our EMT is $1,638. EMT for our township would cost us roughly $85,176 per year. We need 3 of them. That's about $255,528 per year. So 2 24-hour shifts, that covers 6 out of the 7 days of the week. We still have a day open, so we are going to our staffing model would cover that with a part-timer. So we would exclude those health benefits and that retirement plan, but they would still have to be covered under some liability and insurance, which we'll get into later. But let's just go off of $32 an hour for the medic and $22 an hour for the EMT. And just for that one day a week for the year, that's going to add approximately $67,392 per year. So total staffing, again, we're at $336,648 per year. EMTs are going to cost us $255,528 per year. Part-time paramedic, approximately $39,000. Part-time EMT for the year, $27,000. Total staffing cost comes out to $659,568. Total staffing cost, to sum all of that up, if we went with 3 paramedics, 3 EMTs, and we use part-timers to cover that one-off day, we're looking at approximately $659,568 per year. Just in staffing, that is recurring cost, and that is just in wages. So let's talk about startup costs, capital costs, things like that. What do we need to take people to the hospital? We need an ambulance. Some close friends of mine and people I respect and trust are telling me that type 1 ALS ambulances these days are over 300,000, 320,000 they're paying, and they're 2 to 3 years out on a wait list to get them. So let's just go with 300,000 we would need to get an ambulance. I'm certain that any township could find a used ambulance to get started with for maybe half the cost, but for the point of this, let's go with 300,000. We're also going to need equipment on that ambulance. Just the cardiac monitor from Zoll or Stryker alone, they're approximately $50,000. They're probably more than that now, but I know you can probably get refurbished or used ones for anywhere from $40,000 to $50,000. So there's that. We need that. We need a litter. We need power load systems, stretchers, radios, and everything. So without boring you on everything that needs to be on an ambulance, I calculated about $135,000 just on the initial equipment cost for that $300,000 ambulance. So $300K for the ambulance, $135K just for initial startup equipment. We are at $435,000 just for startup costs for the ambulance and equipment. We have to factor in fuel because if we are running calls, we are going to be using fuel. 300 to 400 calls per year. Let's factor in $5,000 for fuel costs a year. Any ambulance or any automobile that you drive on the road is going to need inspections and maintenance and oil changes. So let's just talk $15,000 a year for maintenance costs. Between fuel and maintenance for the ambulance, you're looking at $20,000 total per year. Next, we're getting into liability insurance and things like that. If you have malpractice or you have an issue, you drop somebody and it goes wrong and your providers or your township gets sued, you're going to want insurance to cover that. So the average running cost on that is about $20,000 per year. We're going to add that right on the top. So total annual operating costs. Staffing, we're at $659,568 per year. Fuel is $5,000. Maintenance, we're at $10,000 per year. Liability insurance, we added in $20,000 per year. And that is a total recurring revenue a year of $694,568 per year. So 300 to 400 calls per year would generate some revenue, right? So I really am going to try hard not to get into all the reimbursement problems with healthcare, especially with EMS. But let's just make it easy and say, I show up to your house, you're having a heart attack, I put you on the cardiac monitor, give you all the IVs and meds and do ALS care for you, and it costs $2,000, just throwing a number out there. You have Medicare, Medicaid, we submit it to Medicare, they come back and say $600. So they give us $600, we eat that $1,400 from that bill, and we can't go after you for the other $1,400. The ambulance corps have to eat that. But we would generate some revenue. I went $600 per call. So if we ran 300 calls per year, that would be approximately $180,000 in revenue. And if we ran 400 calls per year, that would be approximately $240,000 a year in revenue. So if we went off that initial operating cost of $694,568 per year, and we subtracted that $180,000 in revenue, the township would be looking at a net cost of $514,568 per year. If we had a good year and we ran 400 calls and it's $240,000 in revenue, the township net cost would be looking at about $454,000 per year. Where I live, there is no mill tax. I know that there is some things on the internet that they proposed a 0.5% mill tax, and it did not go through yet. But let's just say where if I live, they put a 0.5 mill tax on the township. And for those of you who are worried about paying more taxes, listen, I don't want to pay more taxes. I could go on and on about we're taxed for everything and we pay more taxes for everything, and I don't want to pay any more taxes. But if you own a $300,000 assessed home in this township, that's approximately $150 added to your taxes a year. It comes out to about $12.50 per month. And what I have to say about that is I do not want to be the person to be like, we should pay more in taxes, and you get upset with me. But this is something that is important and something I'm passionate about, where we go to Starbucks twice a month and we pay more than that for two coffees. And $12.50 a month per household for a staffed, competent ambulance to show up and save you or your loved ones home. I don't even think that anyone would disagree with my logic on that one. So I think that there is something. I don't want to upset the fire department where I live. We have a great fire department. They are doing the best they can. They are looking for more support. But what if we went to that 1% mill tax and let's double it. If you had a $300,000 house, that would be $300 extra you would pay in taxes a year. And each household would go to about $25 a month extra in taxes, which is a lot, I acknowledge, but then you would be able to fund your EMS and your fire departments and support both of them. Just with a 0.5% mill tax, it would generate in my township approximately $686,000. And that's not far off from what our operating costs are yearly, which I generated here at 694,000. That's a difference of only $7,000, and that is before we incorporated in that billing revenue. So yeah, one more time, I kind of want to just break it down for everything. The initial investment, like if you want, like where I live, it's like, who wants to cover us? So the township pays a flat fee. Let's say it's $50,000. I don't know what it is. I think it's close to that. They pay $50,000 to this organization and say, "Hey, give us good ambulance coverage." But I just told you that it costs about $690,000 to run a 24/7 ALS truck out of any township in a rural area like this. So if you pay them $60,000, you're not even paying for one EMT salary. So $60,000 minus the $690,000 for recurring operating costs per year minus your $60,000, they're still $1 million in the hole before they even run one call in your township. A lot of places are all about getting bigger coverage area, but I think that agencies have been seeing what's happening over the years, and just taking more coverage area just to get a bigger coverage area is not the smart thing to do. So there you go. This is not an agency thing. I understand it. If a township really wants to have good EMS coverage, they're going to have to build it and they're going to have to fund it. A lot of people on my Facebook are talking about, oh, it's a loser. You're going to lose money. Listen, I'm not talking about losing money. I'm not talking about gaining money. I'm talking about doing this smart and building it smart. And really, I'm talking about a township funding their own EMS services. That's the basis of patched up providers. Nobody really cares about EMS and 911 and the everyday operating costs of an ambulance until it's that time when you have that emergency in your home. And for me and my family, it is very important that someone shows up and they know what they're doing and they have the top tier equipment to help save me or my loved one's life. So I'm going to screenshot some of this stuff. I'm going to put it up on my Facebook. Um, don't panic, everybody. Our township is going to figure it out. Someone will come and respond. As a community, that's what we do best. We rally around each other, and we will get it figured out. We have to give our township some time to figure it out. We live in a great place. It is a wonderful town, and I'm certain that everyone will come together and this will be worked out. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.